Hello there, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome to the live stream of today. How are you all doing? How is your Saturday? I hope and pray that all is going on well. Thank you all so much for making time in your schedules to be here today. And I honestly believe that it will not be a time wasted. It's going to benefit you by the end of this live stream of today. If you're tuned in today and you are feeling behind in life, if you have tuned in here today and you're one of those people feeling maybe sad and almost even embarrassed for not having it all together, in life, then this live stream is for you and it's going to benefit you so much. If you are here today and you are just sad and very discontented with where you are in life, this live stream is going to benefit you greatly. So, thank you all so much for tuning in here today for this. If you are here, please do let me know in the comment section or in the chat. Do say hi, hi. I see Power Prayer Ministry. Thank you so much. Welcome in, sister. And as you're pouring in, just do let me know in the comment section that you are in so that I can give you a shout out. So, for those of you tuning in for the very first time, hi, my name is Chantal Njila Ngange, and here I have a very deep longing, a deep passion in my heart to live a purpose driven life and to see others live that purpose driven life as well. And that's why here on Shanti Bloom, I share applicable principles and simple practical steps that will help you be your own coach, that will help you to guide yourself into identifying your purpose and so that you can begin to pursue your dreams with more clarity because the clarity is something that we often need and from the place of balance. I love a holistic approach to pursuing our dreams in life. So that is what Shanti Bloom here is all about. And I came to realize that a lot of people do feel stuck in life. We do feel stuck in life more often than we would like to admit. And after talking to a lot of people, I realized that this feeling of being stuck is often centered around the feeling of being behind in life. And so I thought to myself, this is a conversation I will really, really want to have with us. And I said, I don't want to have this conversation all by myself. I would like to have this conversation with a friend. So I brought in a friend of mine I'm so excited to have this live with today, and that is none other than my friend Comfort Musa.
Hi,
Welcome,
Shan.
Kami. Welcome in. Please
Hi,
do give
Shan.
her a shout out in the chat. Say hello, Kami. Welcome in. Let's make her feel at home. Let's make her know she's in the company of the best bloomers on earth. So, welcome, Kami.
Thank you so much, Shan. I'm happy to be here and on your show, Shan. You know,
Mhm.
things we only dreamed of as young girls. Here you
Yeah.
are hosting your own show, Inspiring Lives. I'm really delighted to be on your show this evening.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Kami. It's really, it's really some things years back, right? And here we are today. We may be talking
Right.
of years back. Here we are today, and people would not understand. Before we get into us, let us tell us a little bit about yourself. Let the audience know who Comfort Musa is, and then we'll dive right into our conversation of today.
I am Comfort Musa, a journalist. I live in Yaoundé, Cameroon. I'm very passionate about social justice. So a lot of my journalism is centered around social justice stories. And I'm also very keen on amplifying the voices of minorities in Cameroon. So women, youth, persons with disabilities. Um, I'm an advocate for the rights of women. So I founded a local NGO called Sisters Speak, and the focus is just around amplifying the voices of women and equipping them with the right skills and tools to make their voices heard on things that matter to them most. And full time, I work with an international NGO that focuses on the rights of persons with disabilities.
Okay, Kami. As you all have heard, that is my friend. You keep hearing me saying "Kami, Kami, Kami." That's just how I do call her, and if during the life you find us get a little bit too silly, that's just because that's how comfortable we are with each other. And let me just take some time to give a shout out to a few people who have joined us. Welcome in, Esther. Glad to see you. And I have Nega Hamidi. Says thanks, Esther, for inviting me to this great session. Oh, thank you, Esther, for spreading the word out. And please, let's all follow Esther's example. Share this life out on your WhatsApp pages, on your social media platforms. Let many more people come in, because I believe that there's just a lot of useful information that we're going to get here. It's really my passion. At the end of this, all I want to know is that somebody was able to rise up today, is no longer feeling behind in life, and is having some clarity on what is the step to take next. So please be kind enough to your friend, to your neighbor, to your mother, your sister, to share this to them as well. Welcome in. Hello, Chantal and Komi. So happy to watch you. Thank you so much, mommy. I'm glad that you're in. Hey, fam. Hey, Nina. Thank you. Welcome in. Hey, Marvin. Welcome in so much, for welcome into the live stream, for making that time. And hey, Twinnie, yes, my courage. That's my twin sister from another mother. Welcome in. Hey, Happy Isobel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to you for Glenn. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to you, Mildred. Thank you so much for coming in, and none other than my own sweetheart, Edwin. Thank you so much for tuning in. Looking forward to the conversation. Yes, I know it's going to be a great conversation here. And as we go on, I may not be able to give a big shout out to every individual, but I'll do put up your comments on the screen so that we can all share from the wisdom and the ideas that you all have. Again, just to refresh, we are here because we are going to be looking at where our conversation is about how we can overcome this feeling of being behind in life. And I would just like to dive right into it by first asking you, Komi, do we agree that people do feel behind in life? Do people really feel behind in life? Have you felt behind in life ever before, or do you even feel so right now? You know.
Yes, Shanti, life itself is like a race. And no matter how fast or how slow you're running, there's that tendency to feel behind at some point. And I think it's a pretty common feeling with many people that I know, people that I work with, people that I live with. It comes up in conversations often. And it's a feeling that I am familiar with because there have been times in my life where I felt like, everyone has left me behind. So it's very common. And if we're honest to ourselves, we will admit that at some point in time or another, we felt left behind.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you're acknowledging that. And I would like to just ask you, do you have maybe even a time in your life that you really felt an experience? I was so pushed to have you with me in this conversation because, again, just to give my audience a background, Komi and I, we've been in college together. And we were like, we have other few of our own sisters. That we kind of were always together, studied together. And, when I get on a conversation with Comfort, sometimes we go for hours and hours because we kind of just remember the things we went through, not realizing how much it prepared us for today.
Mm.
And then we look back and we still see that this feeling of being behind is not something that started today. We see experiences that we had back in college. So I brought you because I know that we share. So there's some of my stories of feeling behind that you were there experiencing with me. Some I have shared with you that you have no idea of, and even with you. So is there any time in your life that you feel like you had that kind of a real deep feeling of being behind in life?
Oh, yes, Shan, there are so many that I'm having a hard time figure
Picky
out
one.
which particular one to share. But like I said, at different stages in life, when I went to Form 1, for example, about the age of 10, I wasn't able to do my own laundry. I couldn't wash my own uniform. So I was shamed for that. And other 10-year-old kids in school could wash their uniform. So I felt left behind, and people would shame you for not being able to do that. And it may sound trivial, but back in the day, it traumatized me real, real. And when we went to university, Shanti, if and I know you remember this very well, I did not graduate in record time. And so after 3 years, I didn't graduate. My classmates graduated, and I had to change my school and go to another university. And when I went to this university, guess what? One of my former classmates was my lecturer. Tell me about feeling left behind. Oh my God!
I can.
Now I can laugh about it, but nothing reminds you like being left behind when the people that you started the race with are evidently steps ahead. And I didn't graduate. You remember when we're in UB and I had to start all over. I went to a different school and my classmate had to teach me. And I felt really left behind at that point where my classmates were already working and I was still in school. And I had to leave school and go look for jobs in some of these places where they already had a year or two of work experience. That particular season stands out. There are many different examples, but that one really stands out for me.
Oh my goodness. You know, again, like I'm saying, I can laugh now, I can smile now, but I still remember how that time felt like for
Oh
you.
my, you know
And
how often I cried back then,
I
and I
know.
remember you used to encourage me in
I
that
know,
season.
Komi, and you know that sometimes we encourage, we talk, and I even think there were some times that we almost were even hard on you at times, like, come
Mm,
on, snap out of
mm,
it, kind of.
mm, mm,
But
mm.
just fast forward a little bit, I found myself in a similar situation, and then I began to understand what it felt like to be behind. And as
Yeah.
you all know, it's the same college kind of story, and mine was not just centered around again, people, I just want to talk to the audience again right now. What I want to just give you an overview of how we're going to go about this conversation today. I know we're going to talk about some practical things that we can do when we feel behind in life. We just want to first of all share some of our stories and talk about some things centered around this feeling, how it affects us, the consequences. Some people don't are going through it, they don't even know that that's why they feel the way that they feel, that it's coming from that feeling of being behind. So we just want to first of all establish something around that feeling. When you understand what is going on with you, you understand how it's affecting you and those around you. You see how the consequences in your life. Then we can now move forward to what are those steps, those things that we can do. So you may be wondering, oh, we're sharing this so that you can somewhere see how you know we all have felt that way and how we can go about it. Even some of the wrong ways we've gone about it before in the past, and to draw from there so we can see how we can go about this feeling of being behind in life. And again, if you looked at, I think I still remember it was either my third or fourth video on YouTube, I had shared my story of how I came to the US. And I thought, A students, everything. I'd already lectured some people, explained to them, we studied together, they made it. Why would I not write and make it? And I did not make it. And right there and then I began to understand what failure felt like. I was with friends who did not make O levels. I was with friends who did not make A levels. I didn't feel that way because, when you're an A student, you've been making it, you probably sometimes you can sympathize, but you really cannot empathize. You really don't understand. And so until I got to college, and mine was not just the feeling of behind, the shame and the embarrassment, but I had anger attached to mine because I felt like if somebody, I want to just talk about the different aspects of that feeling behind. At times, bitterness is attached to it, you know, because especially in cases you feel like maybe somebody did something that put you there. And in my case, in my nursing program, I had to make an extra year, and I felt like I didn't deserve to make that extra year because I had my proof of I think there was some error, if you can remember, coming on my test scores and another subject. And for those who are watching me now who are in nursing school programs, especially out of Cameroon, they know what it means like when you have that one course that if you do not make it, they may drop you or they
Mm.
may, So there was this condition where for me to move into my clinical year, I had to finish up everything. And there's this course that I would have made it, but this somebody just did not put in my test scores. And then there was all this story about it has already gone to the central administration, it's been locked in, nothing can be done. So I was like, this is the simple explanation I'm going to be given, and I have to come and do another school year. It was just so many things centered around it. I had to, so I just did not feel behind. I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed. But even more, I felt angry. And you know, when you're feeling behind and there's anger added to it, it's not a good place. And at times, I think I also felt like I wasn't understood. And I want to believe that, Kumi, you might have felt that way in that season. There is so much going on in you. And underneath it, there's a lot of growth. You don't just understand that season. But at times, people around you may not understand it. Once in a while, they'll be like, okay, give you a break. But at times, they would still judge you, misunderstand you. I believe so much, even friends around me did not understand the season I was in during that last school year in UB. Some people, even being a Christian myself, somewhere like, what's going on with her? She's still
Mm,
really Christian?
mm. And it can be
you know
confusing. Yeah.
they expect you to be, but I was just in a very strange season. And so I'm just like adding on to what you're saying, that that feeling of being left behind, of being behind, is very common, and mine even extended again. It took me even behind. I started to look at the time that I finished my A levels, and instead of just going into to college, I decided to go redo my A levels all over just because I wanted to write Qs and to go into medicine, which was not even a priority in my heart. I really, that's not really, we were not that big on me. I think at that time we were just shaped that way. If you were a science student and you were doing good, then go do medicine.
Yeah.
And I started looking. I was like, God, I was left behind already in high
Mm,
school. Now I come
mhm,
to college, and I'm doing a program that's not just a 3 year program, and then I have to add an extra one to it. So there
mhm,
was that feeling of behind, and there was that anger. And fast forward, I told you how I came here and I had to do my NCLEX again. And then, I'm like, oh, now I'm in America. I already have my degree.
mhm.
I'm just going to get a job, pay all my parents' debts, be me this fancy nurse. And then there was delay, not only in the process itself. Those who are immigrants will understand how, if you're bringing a degree from another country, at times it's an issue. But then you bring that in, it was a delay. And then, as it was not enough, I wrote my NCLEX again, thought I was going to hit it the first time. It didn't happen. You're just angry.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't
confused.
know, for you all watching me, is there, have you all fell behind in life sometimes, from big things or small
Well,
things?
Shan, another experience I want to just drop in real quick
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the ones we have shared are experiences that we told ourselves that we are behind. We looked at our circumstances and we felt behind. This came from within.
yeah.
I have also experienced this feeling of being left behind that didn't come from within. It came from society, because it's one thing for you to think, oh, I'm behind. It's another thing for society to tell you you are behind.
Mhm.
And real quick, I will share. So I've worked as a journalist for, I think this is my 15th year. And so once we left school, I was in the public eye a lot. If you remember, I had radio shows, I was all over the place. And 6 or 7 years into my career, I had newspapers that would write and say, oh, I'm a community leader, but I'm not a good one. If I'm not married, I don't have the experience to teach other people or mentor other people if I don't have kids of my own. And these were written in newspapers. See, this is my library, and I still have some of the copies. And
Mm.
I keep those copies just to encourage other people sometimes who tell me, oh, this is what society says about me. This is what my family is saying. I tell them, look, maybe your family is telling you behind closed doors. I had mine written in newspapers, so there were those. So it's easy to feel left behind within. You manage it within, but it's another thing to have society tell you, hey, you are behind. So there are these two forces of where that feeling could come from. For me, I had it out there in newspapers. Occasionally, I had people online tell me, um, oh, you're training women and talking about gender-based violence and abuse. You're not yet qualified to talk about it because, you are not here and there in your life. And, you know, when that went on a lot in the media, it had an effect on me because I started thinking, but am I okay? Am I not okay? Well, we will talk about how I got over that and,
Yeah.
how I'm thriving now. But uh, those were also instances that, life tried to give me another tag to say left behind, and
I'm so happy
yeah.
that you brought that up, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm happy you're sharing this so people can see, what can happen. And I'm happy you brought that up because that's the next thing I was going to have us go into to say, what do we think are the reasons that sometimes trigger the feeling? And you've already started it. That's some of the what triggers that feeling at times is the external expectations, societal expectations, what people
Mm-hmm.
expect of us, or a certain
Confusion.
set, at times an unrealistic ideal way of success.
Yeah.
Some a
Mm-hmm.
mindset that this is a path to success.
This
And
is
if you
how it's
start
supposed
going
to
on
be.
another path that doesn't look like a path to success, then people start feeling like, okay, then you're not meeting up to that standard. And then they
And I
tell you
think,
that you're not meeting up. So you just said
mm-hmm.
something that's bringing us to the second thing that I'll come back to you to talk about
Mm-hmm.
it. But before we get right into that, I just wanted to shout out again to those in the chat that please just let us know in the chat if you fell behind, before. You can just say, yes, I identify with that. I fell behind myself. And if you even think you can make one or two lines of a time like that, you just don't know who's reading in the comments that will feel like, oh, I thought I was alone. But there's somebody too. I've seen somebody talk about O-level examinations here. Yes, I learned to humble myself and resit exams again in life, especially after my O-levels. We talking about school year, and somebody is identifying with that. You don't know which of your other stories you're going to share in there, and somebody will identify with that. And by the way, there's going to be a time I'm going to take some questions, and all. And but please keep the comments coming. I'm going to flash them on the screen. So now back to you, Commissar. You're about to say something, and please, after you share your thought, just get into what you think are the reasons for these feelings. What is it that triggers them, and what is it that feeds them to also grow?
Well, maybe I just get into that. I think the feeling of shame, of confusion, of anger, that comes with this left behind thing is learned, because when did we start thinking that we're left behind? As kids, we did not compare ourselves with anyone. If you could wear your shoes correctly, you didn't feel you were better than the other kids who could not wear their own shoes correctly. And where we grew up, and Shanti, we both grew up in the same context as kids. If you remember very well, families corrected their kids who maybe bedwetted, for example, by shaming them. There are households where they will put the kid out in the yard and call every other person and say, shame them. And, and they'll say, kids your age, do not bedwet. If you're still bedwetting, then you have people in the neighborhood come and shame you. And so that already put some competition. Kids who are 6 do not bedwet. If you're still bedwetting, there is something very wrong with you. And so lessons were not learned. Kids, you know, grew up with this, oh, I'm being shamed, without even understanding, the process. And it continued to school. In nursery school, even till today in Cameroon, kids are shamed. If you cannot count from 1 to 10, you'll have the teacher who will ask the classmates to shame, and kids will be like, oh, shame. So being left behind is something that we learned as kids. You were shamed. Um, Even in secondary school, schools would do like the top 10, bottom 10, and the bottom 10 list, or bottom 3 or 5 or whatever the schools chose to use, were meant to ridicule the people who were on that list as a means of challenging them, to be top 10. And so the motivation for work was this trauma that came from the shaming, and the lesson from you can be better. And there's a kid who would have 9 average, and that is the best. I mean, I've had some kids I was mentoring, and they would have 10 to 9, and I celebrated the 9. But in school they would put them on bottom 10 list where they would be shamed. And so we learned this shame, and it also came with confusion, because sometimes the kids are actually putting in their best. Sometimes they don't understand what
Mhm.
is happening. Sometimes their circumstances are different. They're kids who are from homes where they just cannot study at night, and so they come to school really confused. And when they are shamed, for not performing at the same level with their peers, this feeling of being left behind, the anger, the shame, the confusion that comes with it, is learned from when we are kids, and we carry it into adulthood. So I think it's a learned behavior, because if you don't make it in class, you have to find out where did I fail, why did I not succeed, and then you learn the lesson and grow. So throughout my life up till when I changed universities, I had to sit down and really find out why do I feel this ashamed, do I need to prove something to some people, or I need to honor myself, and be the best version. So pretty much I would say the feeling is learned, Shan, from when we are kids and how we are taught different life lessons.
Yes. I strongly agree with you, Komi. One of those reasons, again, for those who are just joining in, we are looking at the conversation is around that feeling of being behind in life. And we want to see why we have those feelings and how we can overcome them. So, if you're just joining us in, welcome. That's what we're talking about. And right now, we are trying to look at what are some of the reasons, what are some of the things that trigger that feeling, and what are some of the things that feed that feeling to grow. And if I'm hearing us well, we have said first, at times it's internal voices that are telling you that. And at times it's external voices telling you that you're behind. And we have also said that even the internal voices come from a mindset, the way that we have been brought up, the way that society has put a certain benchmark, and how it
Mm,
defines a success in life, makes you to feel behind in life. And I've just seen a comment here from Kinafri Creation. She says, I have come to understand that slow is not always a bad thing, because that is also a mindset that, you can be slow. In this day and time, also, we have said, that fast is not always better. And
mm,
sometimes the behind is not because of some bad thing or any that, but because our minds have been trained that way. We tend to feel a certain way. If you have watched, anybody here, if you've been watching my channel, before I went on my break, I did this series on stepping into your purpose, and there was a particular video which I really encourage you to watch after this. I said the pain of growth. I said becoming somebody will cost you. Growth
mm,
will cost you pain, but it's a beautiful pain. And I said one of those pains is the pain of unlearning. It is
mm,
difficult. I don't know this guy exactly, but it's this guy from Harvard. He says that it's not as if we don't get it, but you know that you have to unlearn something. But a part of you
mm,
is fighting it because how can you explain this new path to the society?
mm,
And again,
mm,
like you've said, we have been taught those things from small. So
mm.
you and I sitting here is a combination of our experiences,
Yeah,
the knowledge we have acquired, all of those things. So
yeah,
it's like this is who I
yeah.
am. How do I unlearn? How do I unteach myself? How do I get comfortable with the fact that I must not be married in order to look successful? How do I
Mm,
tell myself that I must not have all these 1 million degrees in order to show that I have arrived or I'm successful? And again, I wonder, as we're talking, don't think that we're bashing these things. We're just saying that because we have decided to use them as a measure of our progress, that is what is causing us to feel behind in life, which is, for me, is the third thing that I'm kind of adding to what we're talking about, is that what kind of triggers this feeling is that, because for me, that's what brought the change. When I started feeling, when the moment I stopped feeling behind in life, it wasn't because I had suddenly had the things that I was looking for. It's not because I finally checked all the boxes, I cut the T's and dot the I's. It's because I just decided to change how I measure success in my life. That alone
right,
changed it for me. How I miss, because some
right.
of the things that trigger is we have been taught, when you go to school, when you're finished, get a good job. When you're done getting a good job, get a home and marry. And that woman has to be beautiful, that man has to be handsome and cute, he has to have a lot of money, then
Mm,
get a big, beautiful house, live in a nice place,
and
and
then it's
then you
like
have arrived.
you've made
And I
it.
started
Yeah.
to, and when you believe that that's the only path to success, you are
Mm,
blinded. You are blinded
mm,
by
mm, mm.
other, you find yourself blinded by other
Yeah,
opportunities around you. Opportunities
yeah.
to explore, opportunities to discover the new you, opportunities to
Mm.
bring solution to this world with talents that you have in you, but you will not see it
You will
because you
not
have
see it.
one path that you have put in your mind that this is the only path to success. And changing it is just it's difficult also to change it when people are still measuring success based on that mindset. So even though you begin to see yourself that this is my how I'm measuring success, this is how I'm growing, this is
But
a beautiful
you're
place,
in a
you
society,
are
yeah.
fine, but people are still measuring
Mm.
your success based on those traditional measuring
Yeah.
rods or scales, and
Mhm.
so that puts you in the place of you even though within you still struggle because you're like, I feel successful, but how can I prove to them that I am? Because
Then it takes
they
a lot
don't
of
see it that way.
courage,
Yeah,
the
so we have
courage
to
and the
come.
audacity
Mhm.
to be yourself and
Yes,
to
yes,
define yourself. Because even when society says you're not successful, I usually say it is not what people call you that matters. It is what you answer to. So I've shared the experience of, oh, people wrote this in the newspaper, but if I bowed to that, if I submitted to that, that would have been my story. But I had to define myself for me so that society will not define me and own me. And that changed the narrative. Shan, it's also the fact that society sometimes defines us like this because we don't have different measures of success. Think about the women that we saw growing up. How many women had different experiences and were bold or proud about, women who didn't fit into this norm, that society had set out, hid themselves because they were ashamed. But other kids growing up now, like you were talking about your experience in nursing school, another person in nursing school listening to you may not have this feeling of being left behind because they know it's a process. But we grew up with, again, back to where we came from. We grew up with parents and aunties and uncles and neighbors who never told us that they failed. In fact, all my friends, all their parents were always first in class. So if you were last in class, that is a strange thing. But our seniors back in the day did not normalize sharing their testimonies and showing us this is where we failed and this is how we overcame. So some of the things that make us feel behind are not unique to us. But we may think, oh, I'm left behind, I'm alone in this thing, because you've not had other people share their stories. That's why I actually appreciate, a platform like this where we say, hey, it's normal, you can fall, but this is how to rise. And we did not have so many of those examples. So that contributed to us feeling, I'm the worst person in this family. Nobody has ever failed in this family. Nobody, this has never happened to anybody in school. But
yes.
I am sure there are too many people who are hiding their own stories. And so when we tell our stories, I think we free other people as well.
Thank you so much. I just brought up this comment back again by Table Tangish. It's a story of my life. Everyone in my family has at least a degree, and I'm the only one without one. My life has been the slow type, but I had to come to that place where I understood it all.
Mm,
This point you have brought is so important. Another thing that kind of triggers or feeds this feeling is the feeling that we're alone. There's nobody there to see if we have and if you see, we're already even getting into our conversation is already moving into some of the ways to kind of get over this feeling, because we don't have a role model. I've always talked about the fact that a role model is needed. And role model is not just modeling just success, success, success. Modeling means that you are able, I want to have a reference. You see, many times when I talk about balance in life, I always go back to my mom as somebody that helps me see that you can be devoted to your family and you can still chase your passion. You can do this one and you can still do that one. I need to see somebody who has done it, because it's easy for you to sometimes feel like, who am I even trying to kid here? This thing is not possible. The times that motherhood is a little overwhelming for me, or even what I'm doing is overwhelming for me, like the expectations we have at different, as a wife, as a sister, as a mother, into your community, at times you can feel like, oh my goodness, this thing of balance is all a myth. And
mm,
then again, that goes to the wrong definition of what balance is, by the way. And we can get into that now. People think that balance means that having a little bit of everything, then that
you
is
have
balance.
all of it,
That's not where I'm
yeah.
coming from. I'm just saying that for that individual, at times, whatever path you want to take, whatever path, like I said, there are different paths, but whatever path you want to take, you need somebody that has been there, so that in those days where you feel like, oh my goodness, why am I deceiving myself, you can say, no, I'm not deceiving
You have a
myself. This
model,
is
yeah.
somebody who has
But
done it. And that's why we need
Shan,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. The balance again to these is, as time passes, we now have we're living in a generation where people share and maybe overshare. We grew up in an era where people do not share. So we felt alone. But now people are oversharing. And why are they oversharing? Probably on social media. Another cause for why people feel left behind. You go on Facebook and you're scrolling, it's like, geez, everyone has a new house, everyone is on vacation, everyone has a beautiful kids, everyone. And so social media, for people who are not in tune with, this is who I am. You get on social media, you come out depressed. And I think even doctors have shown that social media, causes depression in many people, the clinical diagnosis. So that's another area where people get this feeling from. When you go online and it feels like everyone is moving on, it actually causes many people to get depressed. You look at your classmates, you look at your former neighbors, where they are, and you feel, man, I'm the only one who is left behind, forgetting that often on social media, people put the best foot forward. You don't know what they're. And some people actually make up stuff for the gram. They may take a picture near a building that is not theirs. We've heard stories about that. They put it online, and then you go home and you're feeling like, yeah, I'm the only one who doesn't have, without a home of my own. So social media is another cause for this feeling that many
Yes.
people, sit behind.
A big one, coming, a big one. And again, it shouldn't be so if we have the right measure of progress, right? Have you noticed that
Mhm.
even though there is that, because even in my study on this thing of feeling behind, when I was experiencing it, in my study, it doesn't matter who taught this topic, they always brought up that issue of comparison to be the top reason. And it's probably
Yes.
what we have heard. We have heard all social media is not, we have heard all of that, and we may feel like it's cliche, we have heard it too much and everything, but it is just a truth that we have to accept and deal with. And have you noticed that even in that feeling of being behind by looking at social media, it's not everything on social media that triggers that feeling for you. Have you noticed that you are mostly triggered when you see somebody succeeding in something that you desire?
Exactly. So
Somebody,
you say they are living
so
your life.
yes, so you feel like this person is living my life that I want. So it's not always like general. I'm just trying to say that this feeling of being behind in life sometimes is compartmentalized. Is that the right word, journalist?
Mm, 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 mm.
It's compartmentalized. Like at times you feel behind financially. At
Oh,
times you feel behind when it comes to relationships. At times you feel behind
yeah.
at times it's your, and so at times you feel it your whole life. At times it's just one area. And at times that one
Mhm.
area can be so magnified that it just says that, oh, you know what? It's over for you. It's over. You
Yeah.
one thing can just get so loud that you don't even
Yeah.
see any other thing that is working in your life. So if you see
Mhm.
many people, there are others who feel like I'm so good when it comes to my relationships, I'm in a good place. So they're not really triggered by any amazing relationship out there. They feel like I'm good. They don't even it doesn't even cross their mind. But maybe that person who has good relationship, which is maybe something that's even more deeper and really matters, maybe envious of somebody who is putting up a car that has been their dream car. And you'll be like, what? You have this? And you feel that you're behind just because you don't have a car? For you, you're seeing that it's not, but for them, that car is like one big thing that they have wanted. And so they will anything that you see compared to where you have wanted to be start to trigger envy, start to trigger jealousy, start to trigger, you know, things like that. And so people turn to say, okay, because I don't want to be triggered by this person living my life, you know what we do? We switch over now to people who have not attained where we are, which is another
Mm.
thing we should be very careful of. You
To
know,
make you feel good.
yeah, because one of the points that we are going to bring here, I'm sorry, I feel like we're jumping ahead from this point and already getting to the solutions, but I hope that we in the chat we're still kind of getting it. But uh, another thing that I feel we should do, it's like a, I don't know, it's a fine line between, because I always advise that even it's almost like when the Bible says if your eye causes you to sin, plug it off. Right? So if you feel that there is this thing that always triggers, I've even had real counselors and people say that avoid magazines and things that will always only be reminding you of the things that you wish or desire, you know, to have in life. Try to stay away from that. But again, I would say that there's a fine line, because we're not teaching people now to run away and go hide in a place, because I've seen people who would say, I'm not going to face the wall because I'm in a very dark place. Then finally, when I get the car that you had that I wanted, when I get the house that you had that I wanted, when I get the relationship that you have that I wanted, when I get the degree that you have that I wanted, now we can be friends. But
Mm.
as long as you have those things and I don't have it, we cannot be friends. You see, that is the other extreme, which is wrong.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Please, I want the audience to know that we're not here to beat anybody up. We're just here to kind of dig into that basket and say these are the things that happen in there. Open our eyes to those things so that we can sit down and individually deal with them. There's that extreme of telling you that please don't take all your time. There's some people who are monitoring spirits or FBI agents, trying to discover what is this person's new plan, what is their next step, what is their next move, what is, feeding yourself with things that just weigh you down. So in as
Yeah.
much as we're saying that, do not overwhelm put things that overwhelm you, we're equally not encouraging you to be this person who is bitter with every successful
Yeah.
person and saying that, what, you will not. The only time I would now start being nice to you, close to you, friends with you, is when I now start feeling like I have what you have, which I
Mm.
have always wanted. Now we can be
Yeah.
friends. So it is, there's that place that we find ourselves, comparison on the internet. And I don't care if it is real. Many times we feel that, oh, maybe what people put are fake. There are times that,
Times is
you
real.
know
Yeah.
it is real. It's real. But if you have not yet, like I said before, what changed things for me was not that I now have things that I was everything that I was looking for, is that I
Mm.
have two things have happened. Me, I've also tried to think that what is it that I really want in life? Because
Yeah.
also when I was wanting the wrong things and desiring the wrong things for the wrong reason, or sometimes desiring the right things for the wrong reasons. Let me tell you another time. There was a period where I kind of really wanted to go to a certain school program. But I had to kind of really ask myself again, that why am I doing this? I am so big on the why. Ask anybody around me. I said, why am I doing this? And I saw that this thing I was doing was more from external pressure and peer pressure.
Mm.
And I was in a season in my life that I did not really think like, this is what I should be doing. But I kind of was pushing myself. So I was like, and I'm not saying that I have heard, I've spoken to people who are stuck with loans now and tell me that I don't know why I put this time and money in this thing that I'm doing.
Right.
You
Right.
understand? So
Right.
in order to get over this feeling of being behind, you have to sit down and ask yourself again, what do I really want out of life?
Think deep
To be
inner
honest,
word.
forgetting about
Mm.
what people want. Are you sure that you really want that extra degree? Are you sure you really
It's a
want to work
personal.
here?
It's a
Are you sure
personal
you really want to move to
assignment.
this new town? Are you sure you really want to marry this person? Are you sure you really want to have those kids? Are you sure? Or are you doing it because? So I had to first of all ask myself, what is it in my heart that I really want? And sometimes when you have there's a false want that you may think you are. When I answered that question, I now ask myself, what is the path? And normally there are so many paths to success. But the path we end up choosing is also depending on our principles, our values. Me being a follower of Christ, I also use the Bible as part of my measuring rod
Mm.
for my values and things, and it also shapes a path for me on if I'm faced with five paths, which one I can take and which one I cannot take.
Yeah.
So I think when you come to that place where you are now measuring success
There's.
correctly, measuring progress correctly, then whether what is happening on social media is true or it's not true, you'll be able to overcome it. The reason why I'm making this point is because do not think that after this live stream today and after applying the tips we're going to give here today, you will suddenly never have that feeling knock at your door. It knocks on your door
No, it
every
really
single
will.
moment.
The
What
day
we're trying
will.
to get here are tools that we will be ready with when it shows up at that door. Tools that we will be
Yeah.
ready with when it knocks. Because it
And
knocks every day.
sometimes the feeling of, oh, I'm left behind can also be a very positive and a very empowering feeling. I tell you what happened to me when I turned 25. When I turned 25, I traveled to Nigeria with a young girl who happened to be 25, and she shared her experience already doing business in Nigeria. in Tico, and she had like a big shop. She was operating in millions. And back then, the figures she called were really, I was like, wow, kind of 25-year-old managed this. And when she spoke, I felt like, hey, I'm behind, but in a positive way. And there's something I did that year, which I teach all my mentees to do. I came back and I went on the internet and I looked at 25-year-old journalists in Kenya, in Nigeria, in the US. I was just trying to see what are my age mates doing in other parts of the world. What are my age mates doing in Cameroon, you know? And that for me did not leave me depressed. It fuels something in me because it stretched my imagination to say, hey, there's a 25-year-old in Kenya who owns a media organ. There's a 25-year-old in the US who is already a director, you know, in a multi, you know. I looked up all these things and it did not make me feel bad. You know, it made me look and say, hey, look at what my age mates are doing around the world. Coming at 25, you can, if they can do this, you can do same. So there are times when I look at my age mates, I look at what other women are doing, what other journalists are doing, just so I can see what is possible. So there are times when I actually do that. I compare, I look at what's happening in the world, what's possible, so I can stretch myself, but not just so that I can feel bad. So this feeling sometimes can actually work for good if you put it in perspective.
Perspective. Thank you,
So it's
Kami.
not all the time that is bad and is negative. And also we're talking about social media a while ago, and I'm glad you said this conversation is not going to solve every problem. Last month, Shanti, I shared a story on Facebook. I tend to be vulnerable with some stories because of the number of mentees I have. I need them to see that, look, we don't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
And I shared this thing about the pressure we get when we think people are living our lives online. So I host events, and there was this event that I was hoping that they would get me for it, a big conference, and they got another girl. And so I was scrolling through social media and I saw her hosting it, and man, it felt like she had taken my job. And it was not a very positive feeling. I was not happy. And I started bringing up reasons in my head why she was the one. And immediately, and I wrote this out on Facebook, immediately I felt a rebuke, like, Connie, hold on. She is qualified. Last year and the year before, when you had this opportunity, I'm sure you'd have wanted people to be happy for you. So this is a conversation I had with myself. So do not feel
Mhm.
bad when another person has what you wished for, because I'm learning that you cannot attract something that you don't appreciate in other people. So
Yeah.
social media can oppress you for real, because it
Please
reminds you of,
tell me
oh, you've
about it.
applied for this job 5 times. Look at this other person has had it, and maybe she's not qualified. Truly, sometimes they may not be qualified, but I am learning to be happy for what other people have, because that's what I wish that other people would. I wish that others would be happy for me. So what I did, Shan, was I went to her wall on that post that initially made me feel bad. I had to repent, and do the inner work. And I went on the post and I congratulated her. And I wrote to her and I said, you deserve it. Sis, I'm proud of you. Nail it. And I I did that and I let it go. And I said, you can't feel bad for everyone who is a step ahead of you. You will just die from depression. And so
You
this,
will die.
this
There's
is
always
me
somebody ahead
doing
of
it.
you.
There will always be someone. So this is me doing it on a daily, because the more I think about it, the more I see how I can resent someone, because it's not just you feeling bad for yourself that you're behind. Sometimes it can actually lead to resentment. You just hate someone for no reason. You just don't, you just start looking, Edife overshow, oh, she's
Mm.
overposting, and that's resentment, and it's not positive energy. If anything, it's going to keep you further away from that thing that you desire. And so when I did that comment, I let it go, and I started, interrogating my feelings. When I see someone doing something that I would have loved, or someone with something that I have desired, I really intentionally want to be happy for that. Guess what
Yes.
happened a few weeks after that? Three of such opportunities came to me without, effortlessly. And somehow I feel that I attracted those opportunities
Yes.
for her. So these things will happen on the daily. But if we are not um listening to ourselves and interrogating our feelings, there's going to be a buildup of negative energy, because resentment is not a good feeling, Shan. If you cannot be
Mm.
happy for someone, who has something, if you can bring up reasons why, he get and be over show, all this. If you
You're
can mock it,
thinking,
then
you're
then
telling
you
the
you
truth.
you you are disqualifying yourself from that kind of blessing. So this is something that just happened a month ago.
You
That
see?
post, I don't think so it's a
So it's a
daily work,
feeling that
and
will not end today.
yeah.
I'm so happy you brought that. And you see, I pulled up these comments because I saw it. By the way, all of you commenting, I'm seeing them, I'm putting them on the screen, but I'm reading them. That's why I'm bringing some of the comments back, especially when you say something that is according to something somebody has said. I bring it back. I saw this comment before by Lucy B. She said, so true about feeling behind after seeing others succeeding in areas you desire. The trigger is bad when you think you are better than that person. You see, so again, that's that kind of thing we're saying where you feel like, you know what, I have this ability and this, and maybe you in your own judgment, which could be right, it could not be right. At times, maybe you're a little bit too presumptuous. At times, it might be, at times, it might not be. But you feel like, and that's why you see people at times get bitter, like, I don't have the opportunity that they had. They are lucky, I'm not. So you
Yeah.
downplay people's things because you feel that, oh, the only reason why they are making it is because they're in a better position than you, or they have certain advantages than you, which, to be honest with you, yes, life sometimes presents some people with more advantages and they're able to fly faster. And I'm not going to downplay that because we come from a country, a society where, trust me, there are people who are talented somewhere and they are just having some things that are holding them back. So it is true that sometimes things give some people more edge, more advantage, than others. But if you're not careful with that feeling, and again, that's what brings me to, I shared, there was a two-part video that I made about growing from the inside out. Like you said, Komi, what happened to you with this experience was an internal growth that is preparing you to handle success. If you cannot celebrate somebody when you don't have what they have, then tomorrow when you will be in that position, mm, mm, people will not drink water, like my people say.
Yeah.
So I think I always say that life is funny. Your humility can be disguised in that embarrassing situation. You
Mm.
went through that embarrassment so that you build that humility muscle for the greatness that you will handle tomorrow. So many times things come to us, this guy, maybe that delay, the spirit of patience and tolerance that you need tomorrow
Mm.
is disguised under that delay. That
And
delay is building that
who
tolerance muscle, is building that patient muscle. People are stepping on your toe and I'm building something within you. So one thing I'll also say, just like Nina had said before, that slow is not always bad. I listened to a TED talk on me, and this person, I think it was titled something like the advantages of being a late bloomer. You understand the
Mm.
advantages of being a late bloomer. Nobody's saying that it will be slow and late in life. That's not what we're trying to drive across here. But we're saying that in whatever has triggered that feeling for where you are, know that there is something good in it. If you put your mind that I want to sit down, first of all, in what we're sharing here, we're trying to let you know what triggers it, how to avoid those triggers, how to stay away. What you feed grows, right, Coming? What you feed grows. Any living thing grows. What you
it always
feed
goes.
grows.
And
If
Shan,
all
there
you
are some
feed
phrases
are
you're
those
using.
triggers, it will
Mhm.
overpower you. There are people who have some good things happening in their lives, but they don't see it. And it's not as if
Mhm.
you are standing from outside and
Perspective.
seeing it, they don't see it because of that one little thing over there that has been fed and it has grown and just covered, like a big tree that just covered your house from shade. And you feel like, where's I
Mm.
only see the tree. There are people that have
Mm.
some good things going on, but they don't see it. They keep feeling that they're behind because of that one thing that they have allowed to be so loud in their life. So we're trying
Yeah, they
to
don't
share
see
with us
that.
that, find out what are your triggers. What triggers that feeling for you? Is it what your
Yeah.
mom is telling you? Is it what your dad is telling you? Is it that you're in a company of friends that are always just reminding you of that one thing that you are desiring in life?
Mhm.
To be frank, I had people that when you say hello, they never call you to tell you something good about somebody else or something good in your life. They hear your
Mm.
good news, they will not call you to celebrate. But if they hear the bad news, in fact, they call you before the bad news happens.
Remind you.
You
Mm.
understand? So you have to
Your
stay
company,
away
yeah.
from what is triggering it. Not because you are envious, you are like, let me keep away from people who are making it. Because again, like I said, that's the two sides. It's either you don't want to look at people who are succeeding, then you want to go look at somebody whom in your own eyes you think is not
Not.
succeeding. Because again, like I've said, we don't measure success equally. You think they are not making it, so you want to look at them to feel better. At least I'm married, they're not. At least I'm this way and they're not. At least I'm this way and they're not.
Mm.
And it brings you to make yourself feel better. Again, like I said, you said something that's so important for me. It depends on how you look at it. At times I can look at people who have not attained certain things that I've attained, so that it can humble me and make me grateful to
Mm.
God, to stop complaining and grumbling, just to make me come to that place of saying that, you know what, Shanta, zip it. you know
Mm.
God has been faithful to you. So I look at it that way, not so that I can look like, okay, I'm better and that was. And when I look over to people who have done making it in the area that I want to, like you're saying, change the perspective. It should not be through the
To
eyes of
challenge
envy
you.
and
Yeah.
jealousy and this thing. Find out how. See, if you a few people who are watching here can even bear with you. When I see something good, I go for it. If I see that something I've been struggling with for the past 3 months and you have succeeded, what's that a sacred day? How did
Yeah.
you get it done? Just like
Yeah.
you are saying, you went around saying, if these kids can do it at 20 something, how are they doing it? What are the secrets? You know, for me, just the fact that you change your way of thinking and
Oh my.
approaching that thing, that alone would take a lot of that feeling away. You wake
Mm.
up every day instead of being overwhelmed by, I don't know, you have a new thing to look forward to. You have something new to
And it
study,
also
something new to
how what
discover,
to call
something
it.
new to research, somebody to call and find out some information. You wake up every day alive. You haven't arrived yet, too. But that journey, you feel that you're going somewhere, it keeps you alive. Even if you feel like I'm just so confused right now, you are talking about this going here, going there. I just even don't know where I want to go, where I'm going to. We're going to talk about that too at some point here. And I have a few videos coming up that I really want to just address that. Even if you feel that you're in that place, identify people you can trusted people you can
I can
talk to,
help.
people who have also felt that way before. Let me tell you, I just attended some 5 day thing where this lady was just telling you how you can look from within you and pull out something. I was something centered around ebooks, and then instead of sitting there feeling like, look at me, I have all this and this person is doing this, I figure, how can I pull out my own greatness out of me? That's why
Yeah.
we're differently talented. There's something that commits in me is not in you, but you have something that can help me pull out what is in me.
Of course.
And
Of
as long
course.
as I feel like
We
I can't have
exist to
something, then I will
complement
stay with
one
that thing
another.
in me
Yeah.
and I will not be able to bring it out. I was just having a conversation with my husband actually just yesterday. I was telling him that if I own this and that, I know that this kind of thing I can do. This one, I am looking for somebody to do it because I am not gifted in that. I am not, it's not my area, and every day it gives me more insight as to my calling. Some of us are called to just be errands, holding up
Mm.
Moses' hands, but we
Mm.
feel like, no, if I don't have my own thing and my name on it,
You need
I'm
to
not
know
going to
your
be part of
place.
anything else, you
Mm.
know. But sometimes you have been called to just be errands, 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 and everybody will say, "Oh, he's the one who held my hand. This person is the one who helped me." You are that hand lifter, and everybody's story will be tied to you being that person who lifts up people's hands and guide them to where you want to be. So I think we should really figure out, how am I measuring success? In one of my videos, I said the best way to measure success is to see from where you have come. And there is this quote that is my best quote on measuring progress. It says, progress is not so much about what you have achieved, but what you have overcome to achieve it. Let
Achieve
me
it.
tell you,
Yeah.
what it takes a crippled person to climb 2 stairs. And then even if you climb 100 stairs and you are a runner, you're a marathon runner, we will clap for that person who climbed 2 stairs as a cripple. So that is
Mm.
great progress. The progress is measured by the obstacle they had to overcome.
To
For
overcome.
somebody who
Yeah.
is in an abusive relationship to still wake up and still face life. For somebody who has kids that are juvenile and everything is going on and still do something. Like you are saying, your name is on a newspaper that you are not qualified, you cannot do this. For you to overcome all of that and still press on. For me, that is
Mm.
how I measure progress. And that's why in one of my
And
recent posts, I
believe
put up this quote that said that when it's a milestone, when you can look back and see good
me.
in both the difficult times and the good times. So
Mm.
you can see good in all of that, you can call that a milestone.
Mhm. No, I was just going to so that we don't lose it.
Mm-hmm.
We've been using the phrases delay, behind, and it's also how do you describe your situation? Sometimes would say, I delayed, I'm behind, I had my home late, late marriage, late child. These are terms that people will use, but I think personally, if you see yourself as left behind, if that is how you see it, it's going to influence how you respond to that feeling and how you interrogate it. I say so because when you've lived life long enough, you will know that some things were actually not delays. Some things were just part of the plan. I've talked about being behind in school. At the time, I thought I was being behind. But now that I look at it in hindsight, I see that I was being prepared for something deeper. Because true, when I left school and I started working, I I served some of my classmates. That may have seemed like being left behind and delayed. But Shanti, 6 years down the line, I sat on the interview panel to interview some of these classmates. So while I was behind at the time, I thought, oh, I'm left behind. But life was giving me an opportunity to learn new skills, which some mates did not learn. And so 6 years down the line, I mean, I've sat on and I've shared this um, testimony with others. I sat in one interview panel, and one of the people that went ahead of me, that even taught me, walked into the interview panel, into the interview room, and I had to interview them. I could not talk. When I went back, it really got me teary eyed. And, it's like the story of Joseph in the pit, in the prison. He may have called it left behind, he may have called it delay, or he could have called it preparation. So as we go ahead, I think it's also important to call your seasons appropriately. If you
Yeah.
see it as delay, it's going to show up as delay. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that, oh, you may not have had that house and you're saying, I'm left behind. And in Pidgin, Cameroon Pidgin, they're saying, I'm you one don't left for back. If that's how you describe yourself, if that's the name that you give that situation, I think it's going to
Mm-hmm.
answer similarly for you. So now when I talk about my life, when someone says, oh, this lady got married at 45, it was late marriage. I mean, late according to whose plan and according to whose life.
Yeah.
For this person at 50 does not have a house. He's the last person to have a house. Last on whose agenda? So I just think it's important for people to define their seasons appropriately and to extend grace to themselves. If you see yourself as last, honestly, if you already see yourself as last, who will see you as first? If you can't see it for yourself. So let's also learn to, when we're talking about some of these situations, put it in context. It may not be a delay. It may just be a preparatory phase. You
Mm-hmm.
may not be that. You may just be the one that's going to be the biggest house. But again, it's not a competition. So it doesn't matter if you don't end up building a house. One of the women that I follow a lot on social media, 2 weeks ago, she wrote something that really touched me. This lady is a millionaire. She's living her life. But recently, I don't know why she decided to share that. But when she shared it, it, it ministered to me because I've always said everybody does not want the same thing in life. So we can't use the same measure to define everybody. But
Mm-hmm.
she came on and she said, she has the money. She can travel to any place in the world. I mean, she vacations like every time, everywhere. But she said she does not own a car. She doesn't own a car. She doesn't own a house, and she does not want to because these are not things that she wants for herself. So she prefers to hire car. She prefers to. And I sat back and I was like, people question like any responsible woman must have this and that and that. I said, no, there's more than one way to be a responsible woman, and this is my way. And when I
Mm-hmm.
saw it, I was like, I wish more people could see these kinds of things and actually define life for themselves and say, this is what I want, you know, and be happy on their own terms. So the terminology of how you define your life or how you
Mm-hmm.
describe it is also a very big determinant of how life will respond to you. So maybe we should stop saying I'm behind, I'm the
Yeah.
last person,
Mhm.
this thing has delayed, or is late. If you put it into perspective and you stop comparing with others, then maybe you will see that it's not late and that it's going to show up on time.
So beautiful. I remember watching a documentary. I think it was a documentary when Oprah visited India and she like just went into the slums. I may not remember exactly her line, but in all of that documentary, that's what jumped out to me. She said it's right there, and then she saw that much lack and all of that is relative. It's always when you compare two things, then you can know that I have more or less. If this is all you know life to be, you can never. It's just like, let me tell you, it is as I was growing up in life that at some point look back and I felt like, oh my goodness, so maybe I probably was just a middle class kid, because growing up, my parents and the way that we were raised and everything, I thought that we had everything. You
You
understand?
you you you
But
were
then
one
as
of the
you
rich people
but as
then.
that is why you see it when people start getting into teenagehood and high school and all of that, that feeling start creeping in, because when we're all young, it's like there's nothing to measure or compare. We're all in the morning, we
Mm,
get to school, we all have a test on the same day, we come back and
mm,
all of that.
mm.
But comparison is only when you start now seeing that this is different from this and this is
From
different
other
from this.
people.
And
Yeah.
at times, even the differences don't look like one is better than the other until somebody puts a value that, you know what, if you have this, then it's valued more, if you have this, then it's valued less.
Mm,
When that comparison
right.
starts steps in, that's when we begin to have those feelings.
Yeah.
So bottom line, as we're sharing to everyone here, if I may even just summarize what we have talked so far, is that the very first key thing that will help you today is that when you go home, sit down and ask yourself, what is it that I really want in life? And I know that's a big
Mm,
question that takes a lot of steps to
mm,
answer. But
mm,
like I said, in some upcoming videos, I'm going to put out some questions that you can ask that will help bring that out of you. And then, what is the path that I can take to this? If you
right.
identify what you want, or where you want to go, and the path that you want to take, it will take a good amount of that away. And back to what community is just telling us now, I believe that there are two times where that feeling, it is not valid, in the sense that I'm feeling behind based on whose measurement, right? But then, even after you have found out that which you want, and you are on it and you have found your path, there are those 1 minute or times where you feel like, you know what, hey, wake up. And that wake up call can feel like behind. Like you're saying, we will not call it behind, but those are the few moments where it is valid. For example, if I have everything set to do something, and like there are times that I have a project or an idea in my mind, but I'm just spinning around, I'm just doing this. There are sometimes I have little triggers that make me feel like, you know what, that you are, a little laziness is kicking in. That's the time I'm saying that.
Mm,
When a laziness is kicking in is something that you've defined and you're on your path, and you feel like,
yeah.
well, I'm just giving excuses and spinning around and not doing what I have to do. That is when, at times when that feeling comes in to say, hey, 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 wake up. It's good. It's a good feeling. I've told people the emotions we feel are not bad in themselves. I don't believe that those feelings were put in us for wrong reasons. I tell people the feeling of remorse and regret is not a bad thing. It's what you allow for it to do in you. Because imagine a world where nobody regrets anything. We will
Mm,
be choking each other up and just walking, because even with our consciences, we still walk over people like nothing. So imagine if that was not there. Many of those things are in our bodies, almost like notifications, like thermostats, telling you that, hey, something is going on here, work on this, work on that, work on this. But now the source of that trigger is what makes it right or wrong. And then what you do with that feeling is what can take you up or can bring you down. Why am I
right.
feeling this trigger? Am I feeling because recently I've been lazy and there is something I can be doing? Then I'll wake up and start doing it. Or am I feeling this just because somebody somewhere is trying to put me on their own agenda? Then that is, I have to deal with that differently. So I love that point you have brought up. Ask yourself, where is this feeling coming from? Is it honestly because I have been spinning around and joking around and I really have, there's something I should have been doing that I'm not doing? But even then, you said something here, show yourself grace. There are times I've
Mm,
seen that I felt that I was behind, and I really wasn't. It's just because I allowed those external voices, or how my mindset has been, that made me feel behind. I now knew that I had to change my mindset, how I'm thinking. But then there are other times in my life that I've seen that I made, honestly, I was in a position where I should have done this thing differently, and I didn't. But again, that is still no reason for you to beat up yourself, because everything. There was a comment here that sometimes God uses a delay in your life to help you prepare yourself to better handle tomorrow's greatness.
That's
You
true.
understand?
That's
So
true.
again, there's this songwriter, gospel music singer, Messamy. Messamy sings a song, "Dear Younger Me." He says, "Dear younger me,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'm confused. What should I tell you? Should I tell you that you should not do the things I did? Because those things I did is what has made me today. So at times I'm
Right.
not sure what to tell you." I just love
Mm.
that line in that song because he's saying that in as much as I see that it's true, some of those delays was because I did not do certain things or because I did certain things wrong, I made wrong decisions. One thing I want to tell you, dear audience, right now, the decision you took yesterday, whether the consequences have turned out good or bad, those were your best decisions in that
At
time
the time.
because
Right.
of your level of
Right.
wisdom at that time, your level of
Right.
maturity at that time, the
Mm.
resources you had at that time, the way you saw the world at that time, those were the best
Right.
decisions you could take at
That you
that
could
time.
make. Yeah.
So you have to give yourself that grace and know that you did right at that time. Coming fast forward, if things had not even gone that way, you will not see where you are today. You will not be
At
where you are. You
all.
will not have the maturity.
At
That's why I tell
all.
people that when I see people arrive somewhere and suddenly they want to disown where they have come from, they want to disown those experiences, I say then you have not really known who you are
Mm.
because you cannot let those experiences and all those things go because those are the things that have brought you to where you are today. So please show yourself grace. I know somebody may be saying here that, oh, people are saying that, life just makes us behind. But I know that I've made a mistake. I know I blundered. I know I did something horrible in that relationship. I know I've blundered in my past relationships. That's why where I am today. I know I've blundered in my business. And that's why today my business is failed. I've lost. I have debt. There are people right now who will be saying that, what, my feeling behind is not because of social media. It's not because of anything. I did something wrong.
I
I did
confess.
something wrong that has put me where I am. Sometimes people will make you think you have done something wrong when you didn't, right? Because life is supposed to be smooth. If it's not smooth, you have done something wrong, or one of your aunties or
You've
uncle is doing
actually
something
done
wrong
it.
in the village. Right? Those kind of things will be. But there are times when even you yourself or can just look honestly and see that I think I made a mistake. I did this here. Show yourself grace. Show
But
yourself
you
grace.
know, Shan, someone may be asking that how do you show yourself grace? Again, it's easier said than maybe done, but I think it's a daily walk. Showing myself grace is a daily walk, and it's something that I am only learning now, how to really love myself. Because what if there is actually a traceable thing that you did that kept you behind?
Mhm.
You may live in regret, you may beat yourself up. And I tell myself that if I, who has lived in this body for all this time, cannot understand, cannot show mercy to myself, how will another person do it? That your body is not meant to carry regret, because when you feel bad, when you feel angry, when you feel the regret, sometimes you actually feel it physically, the knots in your belly. So I tell myself that feelings of shame, of regret, of hurt, of anger are not good for me. When I feel those things, Shanna, I don't know about you, but sometimes I actually feel knots in my stomach. I feel like a little bit of pain. There is headache. There is the fatigue. Sometimes you can't get out of bed. It's
You
affecting
can
my
get really
appetite.
sick.
You can get sick with,
Yeah.
especially when it's regret and you feel I caused this thing. I lost
And
this
get old
relationship.
too.
My
Can
heart
also
caused
get
it.
really old physically.
So I think one way to show yourself grace is to look at where you are and say, I may not be where I want to be. I am not where I used to be, but just also appreciate yourself, and love yourself and forgive yourself and appreciate yourself. That's how you show yourself grace. Sometimes you even sit in the office, you're so overwhelmed, you can't do anything, and then, oh, you feel bad, you feel worse. We need to learn how to honor ourselves, to say, I may not have done it right, but I'm here today. I have the opportunity to do it right. And love yourself. Tell yourself the things that you would want others to tell you. Because, when you're feeling left behind, you want someone to come along and encourage you. And you may actually start feeling bad that people have not called you to encourage you, or they have not texted you, or they
They
are
have
not,
not, yeah.
but if you are not able to encourage yourself, don't blame others for not doing it. It's a good thing if you have a support system, and I hope you, those who are watching us, do. But if you don't, show yourself grace, love yourself, forgive yourself daily, and remember that your body is not meant to harbor all these negative feelings, because they only hurt your body. As much as possible, try to lay it down. Sometimes I say that yesterday was heavy, put it down. So learn to put down your yesterday and live in the now, and also celebrate small wins. I think Shan has repeated it
Mm.
a lot on this
Mhm.
program, that we may be fixated on something that has not worked well, that we forget that uh, there are other things that are working well in our life. So that's also part of showing yourself grace, being conscious of what is working, being conscious of what you have, being conscious of how far you've come, not just looking at how far behind you may be. So, yeah, show yourself grace.
That's so beautiful, Komi. That's so beautiful. Like you're saying, many times we say, show grace. How should I do that? We're constantly like beating ourselves. And I also refer to two videos that I have on my channel that will help you in this regard. There's the one I shared about the struggle to forgive yourself and how to make it easy for you, and why that the concept of forgiving yourself is hard in the first place. So you can check that out as well. And then my recent upload I also talked was getting over a mistake, how you can really get
Mhm.
over a mistake. I'll also recommend that you check that video out. Maybe after this live stream, I'm going to try to put it in the description box below so you can go back to it and listen to those. I also gave some breakdowns in those videos on how you can get over a mistake, and celebrating little wins, like you said. I think we've said so much here before we round up. I want to just kind of like bring them out in point form so that somebody will have something to take home. Like in all of this conversation, we have brought out the things that trigger. We have talked about internal thing voices you're telling yourself that triggers that feeling of being behind. We talked about mindset, which means that you have to also identify those mindsets, the way of thinking that is making you feel behind, and to work on those mindsets. You also have to identify what are the external voices that are constantly, even after I'm trying to come out of this hole, they constantly push me back in there, even though I'm trying to celebrate my other wins so that I don't pay more attention to this one side that is not working. Those people are constantly downplaying my milestones, downplaying my success. They only want to remind me of that my child that's not doing well. They want to remind me that my marriage is broken. They want to remind me that I didn't make it through that school program that I wanted to do. They have to remind me that I don't live in the best house, I don't drive the best car, but they don't see the other victories. So you have to also identify those external voices and stay away from them. I'm telling you, time is just so expensive now that you don't get on the phone for hours with a Debbie Downer who would downer you, downer. In fact, some people are like battery drainers. Like when they're done with you, you're walking like this, looking for a way to go and charge yourself because they have drained all that battery out. You have to be intentional about
Yeah,
how you spend time, who you spend time with. But there are people I get on the phone with, and I had other things on my schedule, and I'm struggling to end that call
yeah, they
because
recharge
you
you
just
differently.
recharge each other. And it's not about this flattery, you scratch my back, I scratch your own kind of thing. You just feel that after talking with them, you are alive. Maybe after talking with
Mm.
them, you have not even shared some detailed things, but a few things, it's alive. You have to surround yourself with people like that. So we've talked about those things that trigger. We've talked about social media being one of the big triggers. But we balanced it up by saying that do not now go to the extremes of running away from people because you can't face their success, or going to go and look for people, or trying to hang around only around people that will make you feel better. There are people who cannot, they're friends with you as long as they weigh you and feel like, well, we are at the same level. The moment they start feeling like you're a little bit above them, that
They
friendship
feel
ends right there
threatened.
and there. You see it, you just see the distance start happening. Don't find yourself in that place where you want to surround yourself only with people that make you feel better about yourself. But we said, still look at people who have not attained what you have attained so that you will have gratitude in your heart. Look at people who are way ahead of you in that which you want to achieve so that you can go closer to them. That's some of the tips that we have given here, so that you can go closer to them and learn what are they doing differently. And they have to be trusted people that you can be vulnerable with, or sometimes you can just learn from them from a distance. That's okay as well. There are people who say, I've learned so much from this channel and everything, from programs. They've never met me in person. So you can
Mm.
still find out those ways. So those are some of the things we have said. We've also said do not you're not allowed to compare your life with someone else's life. Remember, what you see on social are just highlights. You don't know what happened in this home today before now. They're just highlights. You don't know what's going on within me. There's some things that at times I cannot even explain it, even to my husband. I'm just going through something. I can't even explain it. So how
Yeah.
can you judge my who I am in this time and season if you don't even know what is going on with me? I can only show you highlights. You cannot really know for sure. So let us not compare. Another thing that we have said here today is that we should stop burning ourselves, killing ourselves, trying. I see people now who are burning because they want to catch up with lost time. And then they pack themselves with
Mm.
all these things. You want to read all the books, you want to sign up for everything. You are in school, you are here, you're here, you're here. You want to do everything. I want to catch up. I must marry this year, have children this year, have a house this year, do this year, because those are
Yeah.
the things that you have defined as your own success. And even if your definition is right and you feel like you blundered before, show yourself grace, but still go at the right pace that will make you be present in life. One of my
Mm.
reels recently on Facebook, on Instagram and Facebook that I put was that you will never live in a moment. If today I'm thinking of yesterday's regret and or I'm worried about tomorrow's plans, then I miss out on today. Then I get into tomorrow, I worry about things I didn't do yesterday. I worry about the things I have to do tomorrow. I miss out again on that day. So you go through life and never live a moment. Think about it. So we should, in as much as you feel that you are behind, whether that feeling is right or wrong, and Komi has just corrected us here, we should not say that anymore. You should rather just see where you are, find the right pace. When I came out of my break time, I've been talking and talking, and there's a Chinese proverb that says that do not be afraid of going slow, be afraid of being stagnant. That's what you should be afraid of.
Mm.
That there is a pace, and again, slow is relative. What is slow for you may not be slow for me. And that brings what
Exactly.
Komi brought up to us as knowing your seasons. There have been seasons in my life where I know that, you know what, I have to shut this short. I have to go boom, 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 and get this thing done. If not, it won't work. And there are some
Yeah.
seasons where I know, you know what, this thing can take time. This can be paused. This because this one has to work, and it shows through my life. Coming, my career has been that way. There have been seasons in my life where I paused this and I took up on this, and that's why I say balance is not about having it all together at the same time. I put pauses and things in life at some point because I want to work on this first, I work on that first. And there are times where I've told my kids that, the highest I will do for you is this, is that, because mommy has to get this done this week, you know, because
Right.
in that season, I see that that is how I'm going to be balanced. That thing needs me now, and I have to do it fast. So if you personalize your journey, I'm telling you, when you personalize your journey, you wake up in the
Mm.
morning and you will measure progress correctly, because you measure based on that which you set out to do. You will not measure it based on. There are times when I remember even on YouTube, there were times when I had 20 views and I'll be like, woo, because when I compare from the day before, it was 5. But there are people that put videos up and in seconds, there are millions of you. Now imagine me, instead of measuring progress with myself, I'm measuring progress with those people. Then you'll be doing
Exactly.
so much, but every day you cannot stop to celebrate your wins because you are like,
Mm.
who.
Mm.
Now, something that I'm going to like to add, Komi, before I pass back everything to you, which I feel like we should really talk about, is that all these things of what I want in life and where I want, you know, if all of it has nothing to do with others and all to do with you, trust me, even after you get it, you will still feel very empty. You will feel very empty. So, one of the important questions I want you to ask yourself is that, this thing that I am crying and running over and running after, how, where what I want to do, how do I plan to impact people at the end of my life? How do I want to really create an impact in the life of people? Come you bear with me that it doesn't matter what I've written to you and everything. When you set out and at the end of the day, you feel like you've spoken to these young people, you come back home fulfilled. Whether it is something you had photos and videos about the thing to put on Facebook or not, you go to bed happy. So maybe one thing too that's making you feel behind, making you feel bitter, making you feel disgruntled is because life is all about you. Somebody had asked something that really blessed me and changed me. And when they said in that season I was guilty, this question was that if God were to suddenly just answer all of your prayers exactly how you asked Him, will one of the answers be for somebody else? Will
Mm.
one of those answers be for somebody else? Or will it all be for you?
Will be
At
around
times we
you.
don't realize that it is me, myself, and I that makes us feel empty. Before, I never believed it until when I'm looking around me and I'm like, "Ha, this one has money, has this, has this." Have you ever seen somebody that you feel like they're envious of you, but when you look at them from the outside and the things that people measure as success, you feel like, no, I should be the one envious of you, not you or me. But that goes
Not
to
the other
tell
way
you
around. Yeah.
that that feeling of contentment and fulfillment does not come only from these external things. And in nowhere are we saying that we do not need them. I beg, if somebody throws me $100 here, I'm going to the mall to get me a new pair of shoes. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with those things, but I'm just saying that if that is
At
all
all.
that
At
will give
all.
you fulfillment, when all is said and done, you feel yourself empty. Why are people, you have just quoted a very rich woman here, why are all very, why do they commit suicide? You have divorces happening, and I'm like, ah, I told my other way, you have money, you and your husband, you will just be jolly, 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 jolly. Nothing will go wrong because there's money, there's this, there's fame, there's that. But then you look around and you see the amount of divorces that are happening. You know, you see people who are doing so well in school, they have the degrees and everything, but there's just that emptiness. I want you to rethink again what you want in life. That question of what do I want in life? Is it just me, myself, and I? You have been put here to pour out into somebody. When you pour out, you feel alive. Every living thing pours out. Go back and think about this statement. Look at any living thing pours out, and that's why they keep growing. So if all you
Mm.
want is just about you will feel behind. And then even when you have done everything to gather, you gather and finish, you keep still feeling behind. How many people have done things because they want to finally arrive? And then you arrive and you're like, ah, all this drama to arrive, this is it. And
That's
you
all there
still,
is to
and let
it.
me tell you, even
Yeah.
when you are pursuing the right things, there'll always be higher heights. Have you ever
True.
told yourself that, I just need just this? Well, the moment I get this one, I'm done. I'm happy. Then you get there and then you don't even have time to celebrate that one. You have just
There's
arrived.
always
You are
going to
looking
be
again at
another
another
one.
thing. That's just to tell you that there are higher heights and there'll always be deeper seas. And there'll always be somebody ahead, there'll be somebody behind, there'll be somebody at that level with you. So even when you have personalized your journey, still know that this feeling of being left behind will be knocking, knocking.
Yeah.
Sometimes because yes,
Oh,
you're lazy, sometimes because not. But if even then, like I said, show yourself grace, figure out how else can I learn and move on from here, and then take baby steps. Please don't rush
mm.
to catch up overnight.
The
Well, I said it.
time.
Take baby steps. Take baby steps. You are not behind. When I took my break, I was like, huh, you're leaving this channel at this time, this project at this time. When you come back, and every day I saw other people who are doing videos with me, new projects, new this, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to go back to YouTube. But because I knew why I was on that break, it helped me to stay, to continue with my steps the way I want to do. Because I know my plan, I know my projects, I know how I'm doing things. And even if sometimes I really feel like, Chantal, you can do this faster than this, I show myself grace, like we have said, and then I learn how to improve and how to go maybe a little faster than I am doing, but not because of any external pressure. Yeah, so I don't know if I have summarized well. And Komi,
Yeah.
I
You
would like
have.
us to just entertain a few questions if people have it. So, but I would like you to just say something and then we can look at that. Over to you, Komi.
Now, I think you have summarized it so well. I would just encourage anyone who is watching us and is feeling to to believe that life is going to work out for them. Another thing, for me personally, the seasons when I felt like, oh, I was left behind, I also felt like life was not working for me. I also felt like the odds were stacked against me. And now what I do in my daily practice, in my meditations, is to see that life is working for me. It's easy to feel left behind, to feel alone, to feel like no one understands. These things just build up on, it just keeps building, and you end up feeling sometimes very depressed and angry and confused. But it helps if you think and if you can see that life is working for you. So even when it seems like, oh, you've gotten to the end, there is a bend. And like I said, Shan, I think we've come to that age where we can say when you live long enough. At that age, we can say that.
The other day I was saying something and I almost said,
Thing that we have seen
when I
enough in
was
life
young
to
and I was like,
know,
oh my goodness, I mean,
right?
I'm not
I mean,
old.
we were young girls over 20 something years ago. But one thing that life has taught me is that sometimes these darker seasons can actually be the deepest seasons from where you, because I mean, I talked about, oh, they wrote this, they wrote about me in the newspaper, but I have countless newspapers and trophies and things also celebrating me in the press. So it's
Yeah,
easy to say this one said this about me, but also sometimes we don't acknowledge that out of this season, there was all this glory that was born. So we have lived enough to see the fact that the tables always turn and that your story can change. So have faith. And when you're feeling left behind, know that that circumstance can change and that it will work for good, even when it's a mistake that you made. Shane, have you had people come to you to counsel you about something you had gone through? And at the time when you were going through, it was actually a mistake. You know, I have made mistakes, learned my lessons, and then somebody came to me and said, "Call me, I need help with this." And those circumstances make me cry because I'm like, wow, the mistake I made and the lessons I learned, I'm now using to help others. So have faith that life is working for you. Have faith that you are loved. Have faith that you are not
amen.
alone. And that even when you feel left behind, I have seen them. I mean, I've seen the tables turn in my life so much so that my siblings know. Sometimes I would just call them and burst out crying. Like, can you imagine that this thing has turned? Shan, let me tell you, when I left UB, there is a lecturer of mine who told me that I was not journalist material, you know, because I had flunked in the courses so bad. I remember that afternoon on campus, I shared it with you. I shared it with my friend, with our friend, mutual friend Cynthia. We went back to the hostel. We cried about it. We
Cynthia and
prayed
Vicky,
about
yeah.
it. Yes, but fast forward, I remember when I was moving to this home where I am now, I was not able to carry all my trophies in one big pack, international trophies for journalism. And I have gone back to that same school, you know, to encourage students. I have mentored students from that school. In fact, there was a program where I'm not sure this lecturer even remembers, where he told me, oh, he's proud of me and all of this. But back then, I felt left behind because I was not doing well in school. And my teacher reinforced it and said, you cannot be a journalist. You better go and sell vegetables. But you know, things can always turn. Today, I am lecturing, I'm mentoring countless, you know. So, life, there is more to life than what you're experiencing.
Yes.
That's what I can say for sure. There is more to life. Back then, I was depressed, I was confused. But like Shan was saying, what is your purpose? I looked deep in me and I asked myself, Komi, what do you want to do with your life? And I knew for sure that journalism was where God was leading me into. And so I went for it, started school all over, learned. But that process of, you know, starting all over, learning, digging deeper, wanting to master everything there was out there is actually what has made me the kind of journalist that I am today. So it actually worked out for good. And when I think about that lecturer, there is no pain. I'm actually grateful. There are times I say, I thank God for this push. It may have been unpleasant, but it led me, you know, to a better end. So whoever is watching this, if you're feeling behind, you're not alone. Life is going to work for you,
It works out.
and any situation can turn around for good.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Komi. Thank you so much. It all
You're
works out for
welcome,
good. I've
Shan.
always said life, it's like this thing when you have the Olympics going on and there's all this display on the field. At times you need to go way above and look from above to see the
Perspective
formation.
to look at.
At times it is later, and we always think that this feeling is about age. It's not about age, until when I started seeing people in their 18s and 20s and 30s and 40s. Somebody actually even told me when I just celebrated my fourth floor birthday that, Shanti, if I looked like you at your age, I would not even tell people my age. I said, probably that would have been me 10, 15 years ago. But I've come to this place in my life where, I don't measure,
Mhm.
you don't measure
Really
things. In
enjoy the
fact, I don't know
moments.
what to
Really
use.
enjoy the moments.
Yeah, you just get to
I
that
am
place
learning
where,
to enjoy the moments, Shan.
yes,
Like, I'm really learning to enjoy drinking tea, watching a movie, traveling, talking with, like you said, learning to be present,
Yeah.
you
Lie
know,
down in the
and
grass and look at.
enjoying
When
it.
last did you look at the moon in the night? When last did you look up to the sky? I'm just asking. When last did you just come out in the night and looked up? Do you know we go about our lives
Enjoy the
without
life.
today? How was the sky today? At what position in the morning when you were going to work was the moon showing, and where? When
Mm.
last did you do something like that? It's very
The
important.
Niger there's a Nigerian song that says problem in no the finish. You must learn to
You know,
enjoy life.
you know, you finish. And when you
Yeah,
say
enjoy
things
life.
turn around, I have so many stories. I have my cousin I've just been talking with recently, and I keep telling her, I said, I've used your story so much to encourage people, how things can just change for you. And there's a season that even you feel like you can't even control what's going on. So I just encouraging somebody out there that, if you start looking at things differently and start taking baby steps and not trying to rush and use shortcuts to get there fast to prove a point to somebody, and you just keep on steady and sure, things will work out, because you've shared a beautiful story here, coming with your journalism. Imagine, and please don't only look at those negative voices coming in. All of those negative voices, they must be having voices that make you see the greatness in you. I just shared with you voice messages that I got, especially when I just started my YouTube channel. On Instagram, messages from people that I was in school with them, and things, and people sharing real stories of things, encounters we had, things I said, and I'm like, who, me, when, how? You understand? So you think you don't have something in you, you do. It is
You do.
in a
Oh,
process. It's in a process going on, in a process. I just feel like if I just went through life, a student, this that, sat here with some huge letters for my name, my message will not be the same. My message will not be the same. So everything prepares you, but then you come to that place. If you're in that place where there's that bell going on, like, hey, I have to do something, don't be afraid, don't be anxious, don't be regretting. Take it one step at a time. I just want to ask, does anybody have questions? I was hoping we'll do just an hour, 30 minutes. I think we've got a little bit over that. So
oh my
we
God.
are like 5 minutes
That's
over
fine.
that already. So if
Oh,
we have any questions in the comment section, I would really want to welcome that here. Or maybe it's later on that you think of a question. I'll leave in the comments description box how you can reach me, how you can reach Komi, and how you can ask us those questions. There are people who always reach me out on my DM. I have an email which you can reach me. And I am working on a better platform and things that we can, more structured ways that we can get to talk and build on things on a smaller scale, right? On fewer people, on one-on-one. So look out for that. But anything that you have, questions that you have right now, you can leave it in the comment section below, so that we can see if we can answer those before we round off to get off. While I'm waiting for those questions to come in, I really just want to thank all of you. I hope that I was able to shoot every comment up here. Again, at the beginning, I tried to give everybody a shout out, but because I didn't want to, there are a lot of you guys commenting in the comment section. I did not want to bore us with name calling. I've just been shooting it up on the screen, and know that I see you, and I'm grateful that you giving that time to be here today. I hope you were really blessed, and that you will take these tips here today. It will make you go back home and feel really different about where you are. How you see yourself is what really matters. It doesn't matter if the whole world is seeing you that you are great and that you've arrived. When you hit your bed and you have to face the real you, that's what really matters. And so work more on that real you. And then that real you will gradually start showing. It can't hide. The real you cannot hide. Somebody said it's like a pregnancy. It doesn't matter how what you put on. The due season, it will show. So work more on the real you. Thank you, Rosalind. Rosalind is saying, I'm just enjoying the conversation. It's a blessing. Thank you all so much. And yes, Kina Free Creation is saying, also extending her thanks. Thank you so very much, Sister Komi and Shan. Amabel says, I was very blessed with the conversation. Thanks, guys. Thank you all too so much for being here. And Komi, even as I'm still waiting, if anything comes, if not, we round off. I just also want you to tell the audience, where can they find you? Somebody wants to say, oh, I want to hear more about Komi. I want to see what she's doing. Maybe there's somebody in here with a similar story to yours, somebody who's interested in journalism, how can they get in touch with you? Even though I'm going to leave that information in the description box later.
I'm present on different social media channels. I'm on Twitter at Comfort Musa, Instagram at Comfort Musa, Facebook. There is Comfort Musa and Komi Musa on Facebook.
Okay. Okay, that's great. And she told us earlier already about Sister Speak, which is an initiative of hers. You can also find out from her more about it and how you can be a part of that. So thank you all so much. I truly appreciate your time. Appreciate you all being here. And do stay tuned to Shanti Bloom. In the next weeks, I'm going to be coming up with some great videos for us to explore more on this. And we have not ended. We still have a lot to talk about this. And again, I said there are many more of these conversations that we need to have in the area of purpose and pursuing your dreams from the place of balance and with clarity. I'm so big on a holistic approach to pursuing our dreams, because that is the only way you can find true contentment and true fulfillment. So please look forward to more of that coming up, and many more guests that I'm going to have here, so that we have more of these important conversations. And I'm going to conclude here by saying that you are here for a purpose. Your creator put you here for a purpose. You have something to offer this world. And if he gave you a vision, if God gave you an assignment and a vision, he has also made provision. And with him, things don't just happen. With him, everything is planned. And when all is said and done, when it is so worse, when it is so tough, we are just his vessels. I told you, you can reach out to Kami, you can reach out to me. We are just his vessels. But the beautiful thing is that you can reach out to him directly. There are times when you don't need special prayers and words. Come, I don't know about you. My deepest prayers have been in silence, complete silence. I don't know what to say. And I'm
Just
just
your
like,
heart. Yeah.
hear my heart, God. And I believe that he's hearing. I believe that he has heard what I've said. He understood what I have said. I just find myself in that place. So when all is said and done, your creator put you here for a purpose, and he alone can lead you on. Don't seize the wheel from him. There are times I've done that. I'm just like, God, see, you are just too slow. I don't know if you're confused. I don't know if you don't know the direction anymore. I will go on. But, in the midst of all of that, I finally give him the wheel, and he keeps taking me down the right path, down the right place. Thank you all so much for being here, and stay tuned for the next live that is coming on. Thank you so much, Kami, for being here today. And I will be having you again here for many more conversations.
Thanks for having me. Have a blessed weekend.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Have a great one. Bye.